Yes, people, welcome back to Albert JTV. It's been a while for a live Q&A. Always something to talk about when it's the mighty Arsenal. But before we get into it, people, let's hit the intro. Footballing community, you should know what to do by now. Like, share, and subscribe. Welcome back to Albert JTV. A social media platform. Know what you're talking about. And what I mean by that is goals, ESR and Saka have done well. They've done okay. They've done well. Yes, people, welcome back to Albert JTV. Like I said before the intro, it's been a long time doing a live Q&A. I should need to do them more. I do need to do them more. I need to talk to my people, man. Subscribers, Arsenal community, footballer community, all types of the community. I'd like to say, people, the obligatories, obliterate the like button, subscribe to Albert JTV. Yeah, listen, man, there's always something to talk about. Oh, you're not forgetting, all the listeners, this will go on my Spotify and Anchor, so you will listen to the amazing questions I do eventually get asked when people do join the stream. But if not, I'll just keep on talking and talking. So that's the whole point of my podcast. But hope you guys are well, man. What's the day? Thursday, isn't it? So happy Thursday evening. Payday for some tomorrow, maybe the week after. But yeah, looking forward to it, man. Need to purchase some new gear, not just football related either. But yeah, listen, plenty to talk about. Work today, but you know, as usual, always got the notifications on, whether it be Twitter, whether it be Ornstein, whether it be Fabrizio Romano, Sammy Mokbal. The names are endless, people. But I think the most immediate thing to start with before the questions come in, people, when you do eventually join, pop your questions in the chat. You can put a Q before it and then put the question, or just put the question, I'll read it and give the answer as best as I can to the question you're asking. But yeah, the immediate thing, I guess, to talk about really, because I see it come through on my phone at some point sort of late afternoon. Granit Xhaka has left Arsenal Football Club. Leverkusen is the move. You know what? The funny thing is, when he was linked with a move away before, when all the furore around being taken off and walking off the pitch against Crystal Palace, and he looked like he was going to go. And at the time, I think the fee they was talking about was about 13 million, I think it was. I know some Arsenal fans were really, really disgruntled with that because they're thinking, hold on a minute. Like, that's not a lot. But at the time, I've got to be honest, I thought any money we can get for him, I would take it and run. As I mentioned before, people, as an Arsenal fan, I'm 21 plus a little bit of VAT and seen some amazing players play for Arsenal. Grace our club and they move on. And it's hard not to have sentiment with those players because those players went on and achieved great things at a football club and won certain, accolades and trophies. Your Henry's, your Bergkamps, your Wrighties, you name it, Tony Adams, whatever. But I guess for me with Granit Xhaka, and I'm talking about myself specifically here. I'm not talking about the Arsenal fan base. He was here for 7 years. 2 FA Cups, I believe it was. He won in that period. I'm sure he was. Is it 2 or 3? I think it was 2. I've got to be honest, when we signed him many moons ago, I won't say I was particularly jumping through hoops or doing cartwheels at the signing at the signing at the time because I seen him play a lot, not when he's in Germany in the Bundesliga, but I see him play a lot for the Swiss national side. And I'm not saying I wasn't impressed with what I saw when he played for Switzerland, but I wasn't bowled over by the signing at the time. I don't know what you guys thought when you do eventually join in the chat, and also what Arsenal fans felt in general. But I thought, okay, look, he signed for Arsenal, a lot of money at the time. So there's a lot of money to some people, to be fair. Let's see what we got. But one of the things I sort of knew about Granit Xhaka in terms of when we signed him was that his disciplinary record wasn't that great. And as you saw sort of over the time of his career at Arsenal, it wasn't fantastic. And I guess for some Arsenal fans, he's probably waiting to see what type of player we was getting. for the ones that did follow Bundesliga and probably watched him a lot more than I did, was probably quite buoyed by the signing, thinking what he could bring to the Arsenal side. But I think for me, his first few, he started off okay, Granit Xhaka, but then, just kind of mistakes after mistakes, or, the stats that were flying around about most goals leading to a mistake and the sending offs, and is he reliable, and he's an experienced player, what is he doing? So many permutations, so many questions asked about him. And I would say, personally speaking, I would say, people will say the last 2 seasons. For me, I would say by far, last season he was his best season at Arsenal. I know a lot of it with some Arsenal fans that I know and see on the platform in regards to whether it be YouTube content creating or going on the socials. They would say he's had more than 2 or 3 good seasons. I don't agree with that he's talking about Arsenal, if I'm being honest. He played in a very different role last season to the season before and the season before that, or generally his time at Arsenal, and notably had his best season. But I mentioned this actually on quite a few of my podcasts last season, whether that was on my channel or on other channels. As well as he did last season, and I was lucky enough to go to quite a few of the games last season, and well, last couple of years actually, thanks to my good friend, the season ticket holder, who can't get to all the games. And there were moments when it was a particular pass, or being in the final third, or taking that shot on, or putting that ball at the back of the net. I instantly thought, as well as Jack has done, we do need better. And that was always my opinion throughout the course of last season, as well as he's done. And I'm not going to take that away from him in the advanced role that he was playing, and Mikel Arteta had him further up the pitch. I just felt at times with a player who was a bit more, not even technically gifted, but probably might have seen the bigger picture playing in that advanced role, there would have been more of an end product. That is my own honest opinion. But let me come to the chat quickly. Before I deviate away. Go on, Soph. Yeah, Sophie, I couldn't agree more. Sometimes in life, Sophie, or hybrid squad, so I'll technically say, sometimes in life it's about timing, and this was right. And actually, the money we got for him, I think we've done really, really well, man, to be fair, to get in excess of 20 million for a guy who's in the peak of his powers at 30. He's not over the hill. He's still got lots of Alpha Granit Xhaka for club and country. But yeah, I just felt the timing was right when it was announced towards the back end of last season that he was going to go. So listen, he's left the club in a better position than when he could have potentially left it after the Crystal Palace at the Emirates. But Sophie, big up to Sophie, man. Sophie, and I dropped you a DM or a message, whatever I did, about particular tournament coming up in a few weeks' time. But I'll catch up with you at some point. Big up, Sophie, man. And in the end, you both know it's time to move on respectfully. Had it been a year earlier, different story. Very true. Very true. Sometimes life is about timing. Big up Hybrid Squad people. If you have not been subscribed to the Hybrid Squad YouTube community, what is going on? What is going on? Please tell me what is going on. But I'm sure you pretty much have already. And as I always say, I wouldn't tell you to do something that I haven't done. And I have subscribed to the Hybrid Squad time ago. And I've been lucky enough to go on there. Amazing podcast. Love Sophie Nicolau. One Kevin Campbell. Love you too, bro. And hopefully I will speak to you guys very, very soon. But yeah, as mentioned by Hybrid Squad, like sometimes in life is timing, man. And he's gone at the right time. I know there was a lot of Arsenal fans that want him to stay. I'm not going to sit there and argue with them. Look, people asking my opinion about Granit Xhaka, and I said, look, despite how well he's done last season, I still do think it's the right time for him for Arsenal to find better. And obviously, come towards the end of last season, it was mentioned that he's not going to be staying, or he's told the boss, Mikel Arteta, that he wants to sort of go back to Germany. So, listen, it's been a good ending, man. Like I can't lie. We got some good money for him. When a few years ago we could have got less, a lot less. I mean, at the time, I think they're talking about like 10, 13 million, or at a push maybe 15, but that was a figure so that flying around before when the links were happening with Granit Xhaka potentially leaving after the escapade of the walking off the pitch. But listen, I wish him well, man. I wish him well. He put in some really, really good performances last season. And yeah, I wish him well. We do wish him well. Right, Russ has put something in the chat. People, drop your questions in, people. When you do eventually arrive. I like answering questions, man. I'd like to thank Granit Xhaka for everything. Always the first name on the team sheet under every manager he played for. All the best. Yeah, short and sweet, man. All the best. Listen, he was, as mentioned by many people over the last recent years, there were a few managers that always picked him, right? So they must have saw something in Granit Xhaka where he was either the first name on the team sheet, or he was integral to the midfield, or he warranted the place in the team where they thought he showed good leadership skills. And you probably saw that in a little bit in depth when we had the Amazon documentary. What was it now? Season before last was like ages ago. We're trying to forget that season with the capitulation at Newcastle. But yeah, listen, I wish him well, man. I do wish him well. But also as well, we've got a lot of contract talks to talk about. So Reece Nelson, 4-year contract. Saliba, I think, is till 2027, but with a further year. So let's just say 2028. And obviously, we know throughout the course of last season, Ramsdale, Gabriel, Martinelli, and Bukayo Saka. That's great work from Arsenal because we know as Arsenal fans for many a season, where a lot of things off the pitch and the way Arsenal were run as a football club or were going as a football club, with some people was probably laughable, and just probably made your blood boil a little bit. But you've got a core of players, young players, and when I say young, I don't say that in a sense to give them a wide berth or to give them a little bit more slack. I just say it because they are young, like in terms of young men. Maybe not in terms of football terms, because for example, I look at someone like Bukayo Saka. I think there was a stat last season where he featured. I think they said this. I think I got this right. Is either, I know there's quite a disparity, so bear with me. I think it was either 91 games consecutively, or it was 61 games where he's featured Bukayo Saka. That is more than consistency, but I think that probably happened because maybe they felt, maybe Mikel didn't trust Reece Nelson more, or to bring him off, or he was too important to leave him on the bench, for example, with Bukayo Saka. But to tie down all those number of contracts, it's not one or two, it's quite a few there. I mentioned, what's that? There's 6. And there's obviously still talk about Martin Odegaard, so that's 7. So there's a lot of players. Arsenal have got their business done early, I guess, really, in regards to tying down some of the starlights at this football club. So that's important. That's one aspect that Arsenal had to get right, because what you don't want is for the team to not be doing well. These guys start getting tricky fingers or itchy fingers, or the agents start talking and start putting murmurs out there when the contracts are running down, and get other vultures coming in and taking our best players, which has always been the case for a number of years. But I'm glad Arsenal put that right, so we don't have to worry about that for a good, I would say, with a couple of those players I mentioned, not worrying about things for a good 3 or 4 years. And then we can start talking about contracts again when it gets down to the final couple of years. But we'll see. But let me put a question in there. Not put a question in there. A question has already come in the chat, people, all the listeners as well. From Russ Morgan, something different. With Timber on the verge of signing, do you think it means significantly less playing time for Ben White? Or let me rephrase that, sorry, Benjamin White. No, I don't. I get it with some signings that they come in and they hit the ground running. We're not going to know until Urine Timber kicks a ball. By the way, I hope the Arsenal fans are working on a chant. I'm sure it'll come down very, very well. But no, I think it will have to be. I think you go with your tried and tested. And I'm going to make a point quickly before I sort of talk about Timber even more. Is that Ben White made this reference, I think it was before the start of last season or the beginning of last season, where he said, "Look, the defense in the team has had another year to bed in, um, and they've had that, and hopefully kicking on into the new season for the 23-24 season, the relationships will build even stronger." Because you've got to keep with the defensive unit, you've got to keep a nucleus where Mikel Arteta said to himself, "You know what? I've got a good 5 or 6 I can trust with our back four, with the inverted fullbacks and the 2 centre backs." But in answer to your question, Russ, I think he will start with Ben White. Because let's be fair with Ben White. Let me say this. Yes, he tailed off towards the end of last season, but a lot of our players did, including the experienced ones. Hence the reason why we didn't win the league. But he was excellent last season, Ben White. I didn't see him starting at right back last season, but he can play there. But he was more than excellent. He dealt with, I would say, a fair share of the wide forwards within the league. I think he got cooked a new one by Matoma at the Emirates. But if you look at a lot of the games Ben White played last season, the tests that he had, whether it be the likes of a Son or Will Zaha, he was excellent, Ben White. So I would expect him, Russ, to start. Obviously, our 2 centre backs with Gabriel and Saliba and Zinchenko at left back. But listen, when you buy a player for, what was it, 36 million, 40 million euros in European timber, you ain't going to sit on the bench for very, very long. And they've obviously done their homework in terms of the scouting. At the clips I've seen of Timber, he looks really good. Pace, can play in that inverted role. Looks good on the balls, or very comfortable on the ball. So that's the type of player that Mikel Arteta wants. But no, I think Ben White will retain his place. I mean, he'd have to have a stinker of a start of the season for him to lose his place. But what we want, to finish off sort of to that question, is more competition, more squad depth, but not just squad depth for the sake of having numbers 1 to 22, 23. It's bringing in the quality. I think Timber was 15 caps for Netherlands, Eredivisie Player of the Year for the 21-22 season. And like I said, from what I've seen and speaking to certain people that watch a lot of Eredivisie and do their homework in terms of stats and analysis, it's an excellent signing. So I'm looking forward to seeing him play and shouting Timber. So yeah, great question, Russ. Yes, I heard about Steve Round going, so that's going to be interesting. Very, very interesting. And obviously, as you guys will know in the chat, there's some rumors about Santi Cazorla. I don't know how concrete they are, but would you imagine having Santi Cazorla in the coaching team, man? Working with our midfield players, it'd be a dream. And I actually think it would be a good thing. The thing is, when you used to watch Arsenal games, you see Arteta on the touchline. I don't know what you guys thought. I didn't really see a lot of Steve Round or someone bending his ear. Yeah, you had it with Albert Stuvenberg a little bit more, but I think it'd be interesting. You know what? I think a little bit of a shake-up and an addition to the team wouldn't be a bad thing. So I hope the rumors are true with Santi Cazorla, but time will tell. Time will tell. But yeah, Steve Round's going. He was a very experienced guy, actually. Hence the reason why I kind of wanted him there. But let me go to the chat quickly. People, pop your questions in, man. Fire them in. Yes, Doug, big up to you, man. Listen, we'll do some more collabs for next season. One of the Liverpool fans that I do like. So big up, Doug, man. Subscribe to Doug channel, the Doug Out Football channel. Yes, Mark. Hope you're keeping well, man. Hope you're tanning well, man. Hi, Albert. Ben White was one of our most consistent players last season. He was. But like I said, the good thing is more competition. What I do want to see, though, going into next season is in terms of Bukayo Saka. And listen, people know that you need to ask me. I love this guy, man. But as I mentioned before, that stat in terms of playing consecutive games, featuring game, whether he started the games or come on a sub. We need not just more competition, but games where he doesn't play. So Reece Nelson will come in and do more, or get more game time. Hopefully, the boss in Mikel Arteta will give him that. I will talk about Reece Nelson quickly in terms of the contract, but yeah, Ben White was excellent, man. He was excellent. Doing well, Doug, bruv. Doing well, mate. Arsenal started the transfer window positively well. So still work to be done, but a good start. Good old Declan Jollof Rice. I can't believe he's got a song after him, man. Actually, I didn't know this. He did an interview for I think it's BBC Sport Extra or BBC Sport. I shared it on my Instagram story actually. There's a song called Declan Rice, Nigerian artist, and apparently Declan Rice is very big in Nigeria, which they'll be very happy about, especially with a surname called Rice. Um, do you think Pride will actually leave this summer? There's a good chance he will, mate. If somebody said to me at the end of last season, there's a good chance Arsenal will sell Granit Xhaka and Thomas Partey, I wouldn't have believed you. Um, one of them to go, yeah. Both, um, unless, and I'm just putting it out there. I don't know what's going on in terms of does Mikel Arteta feels he has enough in terms of backup in regards to El Neni and Jorginho that you'd be willing to. Obviously, Granit Xhaka mentioned he must have to talk with Arteta last season. Cool, he's gone. Thomas Partey, apparently there's going to be talks in terms of what his Arsenal future is going to be like. But from the rumors you hear and from what you hear and you read and you see, it doesn't look like he's staying. And if he's not going to stay, despite the fact I don't want to see him go, but if he's not going to stay, then you get as much money as you can for him. Was Thomas Partey 30? Don't get me wrong, there was moments last season he was excellent for us. He was actually he was bloody brilliant for us at periods last season, but the way he tailed off for the crunch time of the season was a worry. And I was actually surprised we kept him as fit as we did. Because obviously him coming to Arsenal, his injury record has been horrendous. It wasn't like that before in his Atletico Madrid, but I don't know what happened when he came to Arsenal. But yeah, listen, I don't want him to go, but if he's going to go, then Arsenal need to think strategically. What are they going to do? Are you going to bring another one in? Are you going to sell Lokonga? Apparently, there's the rumors that he's going to hook up with Vincent Company at Burnley. I think with Lokonga, there's potential there. I don't think he'll fulfill it at Arsenal because I just think with Lokonga, I saw enough of him to say he should be a little bit further forward than what I've seen in terms of his performances. People will say, "Yeah, but Albert, he hasn't had a run of games, and he's hard to come in." And I get it, but I'm just going by what I've seen with him playing an Arsenal shirt, and I've not seen enough to say he's somebody who I've been pleased with what I've seen, and that's just me being honest, as much as I can do. But yeah, Thomas Partey's an interesting one, man. I think one thing I've learned with transfer rumors over the years, man. Not necessarily. Sorry, players leaving Arsenal. It's the ones coming in. Apparently, I think the Saliba. I think the talks they said, if I've got this right, was he kind of agreed to things in June. Apparently, oh, pardon me. I can't believe I'm yawning on my own podcast. That is crazy. But big ups to people in the chat. If you haven't already, people, smash the like button. Like I said, get your questions in. But yeah, quickly going to Reece Nelson. People, pop in the chat your thoughts about Reece Nelson getting a 4-year contract. I'm be interested to hear what you guys think actually, because I said this before. I don't really do sort of sentiment FC. Like I get the whole Highland thing, Highland Academy and one of our own, but if you ask me the question, Albert, do you think he did enough last season, or did you see enough of him last season in order for him to get warranted a 4-year contract? And my answer would be no. Because I remember when I don't know if you guys remember this, when he came on against Forest, he obviously bagged the brace and he did well. And I remember he played the following game against Brighton in the Carabao Cup. And I thought he was anonymous. I was at the game. I honestly thought he's anonymous. And then there was a couple games in where he was Brighton Europa League, but then We would play sort of the following week, and I don't know whether it was, you know, instructions from the manager, stay out wide, keep the width, but I just find with him that there are games when he's actually quite anonymous. Um, and what I'd like to see is him sort of just demand the ball a bit more and just not necessarily give players a bollocking, but just demand the ball a bit more. Take your man off. You lose it, you lose it. That's what you're a wide forward. That's what you're supposed to do. But I'm not sure I would have given him a 4-year contract, because I think that at the time they said that they're looking to give him a year extension. But then I think maybe his representatives weren't particularly very happy with that. But listen, he's earned a 4-year contract. The key thing for Reece, which has always been the case, the loans at Hoffenheim and where did he go to? He went to one of the clubs where it got to the Feyenoord, was it? Yes. He had his moments in terms of the loan spells, but his biggest issue is staying fit. I was surprised he didn't get more game time last season, because when he came on, he was quite positive in quite a few of the games. But then, like I said, has he done enough for me to warrant a 4-year contract? I'm not sure, but listen, Mikel Arteta knows best, man. He knows best. He must see something in Reece Nelson that he's thinking to himself, you know what? Let's give this kid a chance and give the manager something to think about. Apply a bit of pressure on Bukayo Saka. Yes, Saka's been doing bits for Arsenal and for England, but I don't want to see him playing the amount of games he's been playing for Arsenal in the last 2-3 years. It's crazy. And on top of that, people remember we're back in the Champions League. Better quality of opposition. And yeah, that's kind of how it is at the moment. But let's go in there. Yes, Jay Dunn, how you doing, bro? Hope you're keeping well, man. Arsenal are doing their business, man, in terms of not just buying players, but signing people on long-term contracts. That is how you're supposed to run a football club, hopefully. Honest thoughts on Havertz, do you think we overpaid? I can't be honest. I said this with Havertz, right? When sometimes as a football fan, and I'm sure many football fans, not just Arsenal fans up and down the country, when a potential signing or rumor of a signing just comes completely left field. This is one of them with Kai Havertz. I mean, when I heard it, I thought, really? Not done too well at Chelsea, but he's been played in a multitude of different positions. With what was it, 2/3 managers if you include interim manager. Was it Potter, Tuchel, and Lampard? There's obviously a player in there, and I was very surprised, if I got to be honest, about the links. I was actually even more surprised Arsenal bought him, to be honest. But as the old saying goes, isn't it? If certain players become available, you go and do your business and you get them in. And it's funny because I know a lot of Arsenal fans who spoke about Kai Havertz for the last, I'd say, 3/4 years. And a lot of them wanted him at Arsenal at the time. Not that he was linked with Arsenal, but they said, you know what? This is a player I would love at Arsenal in Kai Havertz. But he went to Chelsea for a lot of money, by the way. And Chelsea have actually done well, to be fair to them. I know they've operated at a loss, but to get as much money as they got for him, they've done really well. What I would say in terms of have we overpaid? And I made this reference before, Russ, on various different podcasts as well as on my own. You go through the history of time, whether it's bidding for an Olympic Games, a World Cup, infrastructure, everything has a budget. I would say not even 9 times out of 10. 10 times out of 10, you do overpay. Crossrail, London 2012, HS2. If any of them projects came on budget, then they're lying. Unfortunately, we live in a crazy transfer market where, and I'm not just apply this to English players because people have their thoughts about that, but where you are paying not just a little bit, a lot over the odds for some of these players. But Havertz is an interesting one. I said it intrigues me to see where this goes because I'm not sure. I'll be honest, I'm not sure. We have to trust the manager with this because there's two ways it can go. This could work out to be not so good signing where he just doesn't adjust to life at Arsenal, which I think he will personally. But will that translate into performances? Because the Chelsea fans have been running their gums and certain big Chelsea fans in terms of their accounts and their probably notoriety said he's not going to do anything at Arsenal when Arsenal are overpaid, and Chelsea have been overpaying for players for the last 10 years. So I don't know what they're talking about. What's that saying in glass and those in glass houses? But yeah, we paid a lot of money for him. Where I would expect to see him play would be within the role that Xhaka was given last season at Arsenal. But as they say with Havertz, he can play across the front three. Or the full, people talk about there's not a lot of number 9s out there anyway. That's another conversation talking about strikers. It feels like a dying breed. But he can play across the front three. But I would like to see him more in that Xhaka role because I think he might be a bit more of a better decision maker in terms of being in the final third, whether that be a shot, a goal, a through ball, or being at the right place at the right time. So with Havertz, it'd be interesting, really, really interesting. Paid a lot of money for him. He's not had a great time at Chelsea, but listen, he's still only 24. Rice is 24, I believe. Saka's not even anywhere near that age yet. So we've got a nucleus of very, very good young competing squad man and strong first 11, to be fair. But the jury would tell with Guy Havertz. We probably have overpaid for him. We overpaid for Rice, we overpaid for Pepe, we overpaid for Ben White. Harry Maguire overpaid, Sancho overpaid. It's not just Arsenal Football Club. It's not just attributed to Arsenal Football Club. Teams overpay. You have to. If you want to get the players you want, you have to overpay. And that's the way it works out. But yeah, it happens, man. But yeah, listen, Arsenal have been doing their bits, man. We've tied down some very, very important players to the football club in terms of contracts. Got a bit of money for Granit Xhaka. If Thomas Partey is going to go, get as much money as you can for him. Because what Arsenal need to get better at, still, is recuperating money for our players. One thing that Man City and Chelsea do well, and Liverpool, is they get some very good money for their players. I look at Liverpool. Look, we're talking about Jordan Ibe, Dominic Solanke, obviously Coutinho, Chelsea, Tammy Abrahams, Zuma. They get Tomori. They do get good money for their players. They spend a lot of money. I mean, Man City, Jesus, obviously Zinchenko, Leroy Sane, Ferran Torres. It's one thing being a powerhouse of a football club and buying in players, but you've got to be able to sell well. And Man City and Chelsea and Liverpool do it well. Arsenal need to do a lot better. So that'd be my one criticism. But they say Rome wasn't built in a day, but hopefully Arsenal work a bit quicker to get a bit more monetary value for players that we move on. But yeah, listen, Timber, Havertz, and Rice. They're talking about Timber could be unveiled before the end of the week. They're saying Friday. Declan Rice, they said that could be. Well, it's the end of the week tomorrow. It's Friday tomorrow. So unless something happens, I will have my notifications on. People, I won't keep it going for much longer. But big up to Russ for the questions you put in, mate. For the people that are watching this, ping your questions in now. We are live on Facebook, we are live on YouTube, and we are live on the Twitter feed as we speak now. But Havertz is an intriguing signing. Timber, I don't know too much about what I do. I will do my research, but as I said, I've spoken to a few people and they're more than happy. I'm just multitasking, trying to do two things at once. What am I doing? I'll keep talking. Like I said, get your questions in quickly, people, because I'm gonna depart because I want to enjoy the rest of my Thursday evening. Let me come back to my screen. So there I am. But Yeah, listen, with Declan Rice, let me speak quickly. People, drop in the chat quickly. If you're watching this, whether it's be on Facebook or YouTube, because I want to get your thoughts on Declan Rice, man. I've spoken about him enough as it is, but when the links first happened, because I always thought he'd end up at Chelsea. To be honest, I did think that. I thought that was just the way it was going to go. But when the links started back in, what was it, January, February, about Declan Rice, I was like, okay, I don't see this happening, but we'll see. Then it gathered a little bit more traction, and I thought, could this really happen? Are Arsenal really interested in him? But as we've kind of been made aware of, a lot of groundwork has been put in. Mikel Arteta very instrumental, apparently. Edu done his due diligence, and they got the deal done. And I said this with Declan Rice, that if Arsenal were to get him, are Arsenal going to have to pay over the odds? Yes, they have. What was it £33 million more than we paid for Nicolas Pepe? It's a lot of money, but I don't care. I generally don't care. Rival fans who are very happy to try and ridicule us and banter us, their clubs are very happy to spend the cash and they don't complain. But when we sign someone of significance, they all come out the woodwork. Like I said, man, let's put some sort of vinegar on them chips, man. You know what it is? Arsenal are back, man, in regards to being spoken about of in terms of being title challengers and being taken as a serious club, because you see it with the way rival fans come at us on the socials, and if I find it quite funny, if I'm honest, because you think yourself, talk about your own clubs, talk about what you need to do. But yeah, Rice is one player I've always wanted, man. I like Declan Rice as a person. I think he's been excellent for the last 3 or 4 years for West Ham and England. And for ones that had doubts about him, why? Tell me. Drop in the chat when you watch it back. Put in the comments. Tell me what your reservations were about Declan Rice coming to Arsenal. Don't get me wrong. As many years as Declan Rice has played in the Premier League and the England international, could be a lot of pressure on him, which I think he'll thrive. I think he'll absolutely thrive on it. He hasn't come here to warm the bench. He's come here to be a mainstay in the team. He's 24. He's got many years to offer. He will only develop in a better side. No disrespect to West Ham. He will only develop better in a better side with the likes of Erdegaard around him, the Sakas around him, the Martinellis around him, the Jesus around him, the Jorginho's experience, a trusted back four with another year behind them. So he will only get better, Declan Rice. Trust me. So I'm absolutely delighted with the signing. And Arsenal still got more work to do, man. They still got more work to do. It's not over yet. We need to. A lot of our fringe players need to come good if they're going to stay here. I.e., your Fabio Vieira's, your Emil Smith-Rowe's, Reece Nelson's. They need to come in and make an impact and make an impact fast, because they might not get. There's going to be a lot of game time. Listen, season ambitions, as I spoke about in the title. What I want to see from Arsenal, from my own personal point of view, is to mount another title challenge, knockout stages of the Champions League, and a domestic trophy. So the FA Cup or the League Cup. I don't think that's too much to ask for. They went for a league title last season. We've recuperated. We've added more to the squad. This team will have another year under their belt, from the season before last season. Experience, standards, wanting to achieve the best. Us as Arsenal fans need to eradicate the getting top four talk out of our heads now. That needs to go. That needs to go. That needs to disappear off into the sunset. We need to start talking about going for a league title. We need to start talking about going into the latter stages of the Champions League with a bit of luck with the draw. We need to start thinking like that. There's going to be a lot more football next season. 2 domestic cup competitions, Champions League, and the league. And I'm looking forward to it. It's been too long since we've been at the Champions League match. Crazy. I know people are looking forward to listening to Champions League music. I'm looking forward to seeing Arsenal back in the Champions League and see what they can do. Because if you get the luck of the draw, and you might go deep into the competition. And as I mentioned before, one thing that wrangles me as an Arsenal fan is our European record. It's dreadful. 2 European trophies in our last time. Listen, I would love to see Arsenal pick up a Champions League in the next 2 or 3 years. Would absolutely elevate our club, because then you're talking about elevating us at an European level. Um, Arsenal were a well-known football club worldwide, of course, but in terms of winning a Champions League, it's a different kettle of fish, man. And it would elevate us. So I'd love to see that in the next 3 or 4 years, personally. Will it happen? Who knows? How long's a piece of string, people? But what I'm going to say is I'm going to wrap up now, people. My Instagram and Twitter is going on the bottom of the screen. So follow me on there if you haven't already. Subscribe to Albert JTV. Most importantly, don't forget to smash a like on the channel and for this live Q&A. Big up to Russ for the questions in there. And big up to people for jumping in the chat anyway. Doug, big up to you, man. Russ, J Dime. If I miss anybody out, and of course the amazing hybrid squad was there as well. My people, that is Albert J TV over and out. I'll be back covering the Women's World Cup with my YouTube Tottenham wife at Holly Agambar. It will be fun. Looking forward to it. England are injury ravaged, but they have got some good players. Lionesses there, so hopefully some of the players will come in and step up, because they've got a massive opportunity with the likes of Millie Bright's just only just come back to fitness. Obviously, Leah Williamson is out. Frank Kirby's out. Beth Mead is out. So you've got some key players missing. But listen, we'll talk about that more when I do my joint collaboration with Agambar. Big up to you, man. Thank you, man. Much appreciated, bro. Smash a like, people. And yeah, my audio listeners, I'll put this on the audio so you can listen to what I had to talk about with the Southeast London dulcet tones. Like the way I said that, people. But yeah, that's Albert JTV over and out for another live Q&A. I will see you soon, people, when I eventually find the outro. Take care, people.